Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another Boruto 2 Blue Vortex news update, and it's that time of the month once again. We're getting spoilers for the upcoming 2 Blue Vortex manga chapter, which is going to drop on the 20th this month. And as you would expect, this chapter appears to be picking up where the last one left off, which is to say it's all gas and no brakes, because Jura showed up to the battlefield and he's getting ready to dog walk his first victim, Mitsuki, basically pulling up with the same type of energy where he's saying, what's a snake compared to a werewolf? Today's information will be coming to us directly from the official Naruto website. So this is information Shueisha does want you to know about the chapter that comes out on the 20th. From here on out, spoilers can drop any day now, and when they do drop, I'll give the full spoiler video for you guys. And depending on when we get the spoilers, the chapter review will either drop on the 20th when the chapter drops officially, or I'll drop it a couple of days after the official release, since the editor typically needs 2 days to work on the review to maintain the quality. So I thank you in advance for your patience. Real quick, earlier this month we continued that soft reboot of Naruto lore videos. At the quality of the chapter reviews are higher, like the all 9 ice release users video, or the every Mangekyo Sharingan power explained video, which now includes starters. So check those out if you haven't already. Also, if you are a One Piece fan, don't forget to check out the new videos on my Everything One Piece Explained channel, including new videos on Boa Hancock, Blackbeard, and Admiral Kizaru that I highly recommend if you're a fan of the series. So with that being said, let's dive right into the official spoilers from the chapter that just dropped this morning. So as we expected, this chapter, it sees the Harbinger of Death, the final boss, Jura himself, making his presence known by emerging from the back of one of those claw marks in a similar method that Code did, almost exactly a one-to-one being the same pose, and he seemingly caught everyone off guard, and Mitsuki appears to be his first target, which means the very warning that Kashin Koji gave Boruto appears as if it is finally coming true, that Boruto must not go to the battlefield, and if he does, Jura will arrive, and where Jura arrives, death is sure to follow. It looks like it's a bit of bad luck on Mitsuki's part, because based on the promo page we got, which is a literal page released from the upcoming manga chapter, Mitsuki was the one person who could sense Jura emerging from the Ten Tails claw grime, and he is the first person to react. The timing of this is pretty crazy when you think about it, given the literal state of the battlefield right now. Yodo, she's dead, so their main sensory ninja, she's out of there. Sarda, she's passed out from using her Mangekyo Sharingan, so one of your heavy hitters is now out of action as well. Araya is pretty much useless and in danger of joining Yodo in the afterlife, depending on what his next move is, which that leaves Mitsuki, and that is where we get to the unfortunate part. Mitsuki has gotten a lot more powerful during the 3-year time skip. Absolutely, and anyone saying otherwise is willfully downplaying his power level, because they don't want to accept that a clone of Orochimaru was able to grow this fast in 3 years, despite Orochimaru literally telling us that Mitsuki, when he uses Sage Mode, is already stronger than him, and Boruto era Orochimaru is stronger than he was in the war, and that's an Orochimaru who has enhanced Hashirama cells via taking Zetsu's body and regaining his ability to perform ninjutsu. But the strongest in Naruto video on the 2 Blue Vortex version of Mitsuki will be coming later to Patreon first, and then it'll show up on YouTube. However, for as much as Mitsuki has leveled up, Jura is just in a different level of power right now. He's in a different class. He's strong enough that he looked at Code and he neg-diffed him despite Code surpassing Jigen in power, and he's strong enough that Kashin Koji outright said that nobody in Konoha should ever engage Jura directly, because the moment someone does, Jura just killed them without much trouble, and that also included Damon, someone who we know with absolute certainty has never used his full power in a fight. Kashin Koji was pretty specific. Under no circumstances is anyone to piss off Jura, and we can make the assumption that while Mitsuki might know this, we can't be sure about Araya, who is rightfully in a emotionally dark place after seeing the girl he had a crush on die, and now a new enemy appear. this might be a moment where reason gives way to passion and he ends up doing something completely illogical at the worst moment of time because he's thinking with his heart and not with his head. That might put Mitsuki in a reactionary position, but having Sarada there unconscious in that moment is another thing that has to be factored in terms of variables, because he knows Sarada is the target of a Shinju, so he can't leave her defenseless, which that has great potential for conflict. Now, there's one huge thing of importance here is, did you notice where Jura appeared? What stands out to you here? Or rather, let me rephrase, do you see what should stand out when you look at this promo spoiler? There's no Boruto there, and that is intentional. That isn't saying that Jura just suddenly gave up on going after Boruto. No, this is Jura seemingly doing exactly what we predicted he would do over on the channel last month, which is Jura isn't going to waste time chasing down Boruto when he can just make Boruto come to him. And it's a brilliant move when you think about it. And let's not even forget the fact that there's no guarantee that Matsuri hasn't begun disintegrating and a Thorn Soul is being produced, so he can't teleport using Matsuri's body. However, this is why it is so in character for Jura when you sit down and consider everything we know about his character. He's calm and pragmatic, and he uses whatever new information he gets in order to calculate a new strategy. Nothing he does is random. Every move, it has a purpose. We said last month that someone as observant as Jura likely has caught on to the very pattern that Boruto has accidentally begun to do, the very thing that Tsunade warned Sakura during their 2.5-year time skip training between Naruto Volume 27 and 28, so Naruto Part 1 and Naruto Shippuden, which is to cut down on how much information gets telegraphed to your enemy, with Tsunade saying, every shinobi, they have a tail, but the shinobi who become Jonin and Kage level, they learn to hide these weaknesses in a way where only the most trained eye can spot them. Like how Sakura, due to Tsunade's training, she could spot the small giveaways that Sasori would make before he would use his puppets in a certain way. And with Boruto, that's basically what happened here. Boruto has trained with Sasuke and Kashin Koji, two elite high-level shinobi, but the irony is that his patterns aren't so much about what he does when he's fighting someone. Boruto does a good job at hiding his tells in that regard, but instead, his tells, they come in the form of behavioral patterns. Boruto showed up to save Sarada from Code in Chapter 1 of 2 Blue Vortex, while Jura wasn't quite, quote, born yet. That is information that Jura would be privy to, which this is the first time where you go, huh, maybe that's a coincidence, that's a anomaly. Then Boruto showed up to save Himawari and Sarada, and at that point it stops being an anomaly, it starts becoming a pattern. As my late great-grandmother used to say, great as in she's awesome, not great-grandmother, but as my late grandmother used to say, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Now, this is the third time that Boruto has saved someone, this time being Konohamaru. That, my friends, is what the 48 Laws of Power refers to as discovering every man's thumbscrew. That's in a play right here. So what this means, for those of you guys who don't know, is that we all have resistances that we live with, invisible armor around ourselves to defend against change and uncomfortable situations. However, every armor, both physically and figuratively, they all have a weak spot. Where you find that one spot and you focus on it, you can now bend your enemy to your will. For some, it might be a vice. Like I had a boss who had a gambling habit and he had a need for constant positive reinforcement, which made him very easy to manipulate. You make a bet with him or you stroke his ego, you get what you want. My last boss when I worked in politics, he had a weakness for women with long legs and women who had nice breasts. I understand both of those. I saw more than once women who would walk in, they would show some skin to get what they wanted, and they would laugh after the fact because he's so easy to manipulate. So you might hear that and you might go, okay, that's a fine real world example, but what is Boruto's thumbscrew? Like, he's been super chat, giga chat, unstoppable, so what is Boruto's thumbscrew? For Boruto, what's the one weakness that he had that Kashin Koji had been trying to beat out of him like he was a Cherokee drum? It's his love for his friends and his family, his inability to detach when the situation he is in as a singularity of fate requires less emotion and more pragmatism out of Boruto. Like we all say, Kashin Koji is not Jiraiya. He looks like Jiraiya, but he is not Jiraiya by any stretch of the imagination. Sharing the genetics does not give you the same personality, and we all pretty much agree he's a different breed. And yet, I would argue he's being even more stoic and more pragmatic and calculating right now because he needs to show up one of Boruto's greatest weaknesses, a weakness that right now is in danger of being exploited. Kashin Koji has said Boruto is the key to everything. And as we all know, much to Boruto's chagrin, he's not necessarily fond of Kashin Koji viewing people as being expendable, but everything Koji's done with Boruto has been to prevent the worst possible outcomes that he has seen. Koji in so many ways is becoming a necessary evil in order to make Boruto grow up. He's trying to protect Boruto from himself when you think about it. Notice how when Boruto is mourning over the fact he couldn't save Sasuke, what was the thing he told him? He gave him a calculated answer. He said, look man, you should have known that this was a high probability that you would fail. Everything he's done with Boruto has been based off of cold logic, zero emotion. That speech to Boruto right beside Sasuke's corpse, basically, because he's sealed in the tree, that's almost to say, like, hey fam, we tried it your way, we're doing things my way now. Jura appears poised to target someone who Boruto cares about to accomplish two things. One, make Boruto come to him, and two, keep Boruto from teleporting to escape. Boruto has already tipped his hand that he won't let others die if he can do something to stop it from happening. For a villain like Jura, that is invaluable information. It means you can start forcing Boruto to play with the cards in your possession. Basically, you control all the options where damn near every decision Boruto can make is one that ends up in your favor, and it would take a gross oversight in order to blow the advantage you have. Now, I don't think that Mitsuki dies here, but I do think, again, Araya might be the wild card in terms of doing something stupid. Which, if that happens, you gotta believe that when Gaara gets unsealed, that's gonna destroy him. Two of the kids he took in a train died after he was sealed away. That also indirectly adds some blood on the ledger of Kawaki, since this wouldn't have happened if omnipotence didn't occur. But that's also something you could argue we don't know with absolute certainty, or it might even be unlikely, since based on what Kashin Koji said, if omnipotence never occurred, Code would defeat Kawaki and he would harvest a chakra fruit. The main thing here is that the stakes, they have been raised yet again, and while this isn't, or rather this shouldn't be something that's considered a subversion of expectations, it was a welcome addition to the story, because sometimes the best thing you can do when writing a story is to just deliver the most obvious payoff that readers are expecting, and to not try to get cute, not try to overthink it. As I believe it was Stephen King who said it, sometimes it's better to just kill your darlings. Not all brilliant ideas that you have are really needed for the story you're trying to tell. Since we have the official spoiler from Shueisha, which that's what this is, the V-Jump magazine cover should be out soon. Ideally later today or sometime tomorrow. Whenever that happens, the full spoilers typically follow a day afterwards. However, if the cover leaks on Friday, I'm not expecting spoilers until Monday, due to the fact that spoilers never drop on weekends, which means the review might be up 2 days after the official release. But as always, I will keep you guys posted. In the meantime, click here for the newest Naruto Explained video that's part of that soft reboot of the channel. And click here to check out my newest One Piece video from my Everything One Piece Explained channel.